All right, hello everybody. Navi back, ready for my day 3 update of my Twister Amazon build. I'm going to do a little preview of just how the character works, then I'm going to go through the skills, my gear, passive tree, and a couple of other little things that I've noticed as I've been playing through here the last couple of days. This is going to be way more in-depth than my last 2 videos. If you're interested in leveling a character like this, then I suggest you go check out the last 2 videos that I made. I did one on day 1, one on day 2, just sort of updates of how the leveling process was going, and I talk through, how I leveled the character in those videos. They're pretty short, so check those out. But this is going to be a lot more in-depth. I'm going to go through everything, and first of all, I'm just going to start with a little showcase of how the build works. So, the point of the build is to generate a lot of twisters, and you want to be generating those twisters with Whirling Slash. So the combo is 3 Whirling Slashes. This gets it to the maximum sort of size. Then you want to use Twister. That's sort of the basic combo. Now, you can sort of hop around the map doing lots of that, okay? Now, if you are fighting a rare monster, or if you're fighting like a particularly tough pack of monsters, what you want to do first is chuck out a Frostbolt to get some chilled ground, stack up some Whirling Slashes, use Barrage, and then Twister. You're going to have a lot of tornadoes on your screen when you do that. So that's sort of the advanced combo. And then you can, of course, work in Sniper's Mark if you're, trying to deal with a rare. Okay, so let's go in and look at the actual skills themselves here. So for Whirling Slash, I just have this on a 4-link. I've got Martial Tempo for some attack speed. I've got Magnified Effect to just keep this field larger so I don't accidentally walk out of it. If you walk out of it, it detonates and you don't get your twisters, or you don't get the bonus twisters. So, yeah, I like the Magnified Effect. And then I've got Punch Through. Not really sure about this one, but it does knock back some enemies, which is kind of nice. And then it applies this, Easy Target, which is like a, it's like a damage amp on enemies that get knocked back. So I'm not exactly sure if this is the best, but I've been playing with it, and I can definitely notice the knockback sometimes, which is helping me with my survivability. I have Disengage. I'm not really using this very much right now. I was trying to use Shocking Leap with my Disengage to generate Shocked Ground. That's probably a little bit better now that I have my last passive point, or my last Ascendancy point, but I'm not really using Disengage that much. I probably should be, but I'm just kind of lazy. I really like just using 2 buttons, so. On to the important one. Here's Twister. So for Twister, I'm currently running Retreat, which is 25% more damage. If you've damaged an enemy with a melee hit in the last 8 seconds, you're constantly using Whirling Slash, so you're getting that 25% damage up all the time. And then I recently 5-linked this and added in Salvo. Salvo is kind of like Inspiration, but for projectile attacks. You can see here I've got a 3 above my, inside of the little tooltip here for Twister. That just means I'm going to get bonus projectiles when I fire them off. The downside is that the projectiles get spread in random directions, but it's actually kind of fine because a lot of times I'm like jumping into a pack of monsters and then using this, and it kind of helps the damage apply to everybody, so it's actually not really that much of a downside. And then my other 2 supports here are Acceleration and Persistence, so Proj Speed and Skill Duration. The tornadoes essentially act kind of like Spark, so they sort of directly scale off of projectile speed and duration. Your twisters will travel faster, they'll bounce off the walls, they'll last longer, they'll hit the enemies multiple times. Granted, they can't hit the same enemy more than once every 0.66 seconds, but even with that being the case, the projectile speed and the duration helps the tornadoes stay alive long enough to, damage enemies, particularly rares and bosses, multiple times. I'm also running Barrage. I mentioned that earlier. This is how I'm getting some bonus damage. You basically get repeats on your projectile attacks. So you get repeat 2 times. So here's what it looks like with just no Barrage. Okay, so you get some twisters that way. Here's what it looks like with Barrage. A lot more tornadoes, right? And On top of that, if you consume frenzy charges, you get more repeats. So there is a way to generate frenzy charges. Obviously, you can do that by parrying and disengaging. You can also generate them with Sniper's Mark. So I'll talk about that in just a second. Okay, skill supports for barrage. I've got premeditation. This was just a recommended thing. Seems good. 15% more damage on your tornadoes when you, empower the twister with barrage. Twofold. This is giving you a chance to when you consume the frenzy charge to get the extra repeat. This gives you a chance for that to be doubled. And then ingenuity, just lowering the cooldown. I want to be, barraging as often as possible if I'm fighting a strong monster, so yeah. Then I have Sniper's Mark. I just have Profusion, which is a chance to grant an additional charge. Instead of 1, you get 2. And then Single Out, this is some armor break on enemies that are marked. And then lastly, I have Frostbolt. I have Scattershot to make this area a little bit wider. The closer you cast it to yourself, the wider they spread, the further away, the narrower it is. So ideally, you really just need it for the chilled ground. So, it doesn't really matter that much. And then mobility, so that I'm not casting it slowly. My auras, pretty simple. Haven't done a whole lot of research into if this is actually good or not, but I've got Attrition and Wind Dancer right now. Attrition is just helping me with some single target damage, and Wind Dancer is just helping me out with some evasion and survivability. Okay, so that is the skills. Let's take a look at my gear. Sorry, that's not gear. Here's gear. I bought this spear this morning. I think I paid 15 exalts for it. This really helped me out a lot. Yesterday when I first got to maps, I was really struggling. My damage had sort of fallen off from where it was in the campaign. I'd kind of cruised through the campaign with this build, but once I got to maps, it sort of really started to fall off. So I bought the spear, and it made things way nicer. I am comfortably doing yellow maps right now, and I think that I'll be able to get into red maps potentially with this spear. But this will be my next thing that I'm going to be upgrading, because I upgraded a lot of other things recently. So here is my spear. Oh, my game froze. Nice. That's a classic. Okay, we got the little NVIDIA freeze. Okay, we're back. Here's my buckler. It's pretty terrible. It just has some resistances on it and a little bit of evasion. Really nothing special there. I could probably get an upgrade for this relatively cheap, but it's fixing all my reses right now, so yeah, that's that. Let's see, where to go next? Let's take a look at the helmet. I just dropped this helmet on the ground. Thank you, Jonathan and Mark, for making dropped items worth something. It's got life, a little bit of mana, some big rarity, crit hit chance, and some cold res, and some percent evasion. So this helmet is pretty sick. I'm getting quite a bit of evasion from this, and I've got some socketed fire res there to fill out my reses. Here is my chest. I just bought this for a divine. I was upgrading some other gear, and I needed to fix my resistances, so I decided to just blow some currency on a nice chest. This is really all I could afford. I only had one divine, so this guy has about 1,000 evasion rating on it. So I really like the increased elemental ailment threshold. They kind of nerfed our ailment threshold, so that's kind of nice. It's got big life and some big res, so that's really all that's doing. My gloves are pretty cool as well. I believe I dropped these on the ground myself. Life, mana, cold res, some added flat fizz, and some mana leech, which is really nice quality of life. I'm not really running into problems with mana, but this makes it to where I really don't even need to use a mana flask, which is just kind of one less button to have to click. And then I bought these boots about an hour ago. I think these cost me 10 exalts or something. It's just a good life roll, some move speed, and some pretty decent resistance and evasion on there. And the reduced chill duration is nice as well. This belt is one that I gambit for when I first got to Cruel. I'm still just wearing this. Once again, probably room for some upgrades here, easy upgrades, but not something that I'm focusing on. And then my rings are just kind of whatever. I've got some life, a little bit of res, some life leech, which is kind of nice, and then the rarity base. This ring, I think I crafted this in Act 2, and I've still just been wearing it. It dropped as blue with the life and the fire res, and then I just regaled the all res and then just slammed it with a couple of things. Not that fantastic, but it's working for me right now. And then kind of the same story with this amulet. I think I dropped this in Acts 2 or 3, and yeah, it's just got some life, some res, and some random stuff on it. Nothing too special. I'm running a freeze charm. I figured that's probably the thing that's going to get me killed the most. You know, it enables me to walk up to strong boxes and just click them. And then for my flasks, I've got this mana flask, which I don't even really need anymore because I have the mana leech. And then I've got this life flask. It's got 12 uses on it, and it will heal me up all the way, basically over 3 seconds. So that's been pretty nice as well. Okay, let's take a look at the passives. So if you want to see how I path through passives, you're going to want to check out the earlier 2 videos that I posted. This is where I'm currently sitting at right now. Feels pretty comfy. I'm not exactly sure what to change. I'm going to have to do some research. I'm particularly worried about this cluster. I think that this may be completely useless. I'm not really sure how good this is for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is like 6 points that I could potentially be allocating to like some crit or accuracy or even some block. But anyways, I'm pathing through Primal Instinct, Stalk and Leap, over here to Blur. I came over this direction to pick up these nice crit nodes, skill effect duration, and projectile speed. I then pathed over here to grab, like I said, these projectile nodes. I don't know if these are good for the tornadoes. I need to toy around with this a little bit, or maybe ask somebody who knows a little bit more about the game. So this is sort of my biggest question mark here. Ultimately, I pathed over here, though, to grab the attack speed per 25 dex, and then to pick up all these dex nodes and the evasion nodes, and then ultimately path over here to this crit cluster. And then down here on the bottom part of the tree, I just respect a couple of points away from some other random things for this over here, some increased block chance. This may not be worth it. It only increased my block by about 10%, and I don't know. This is kind of a question mark for me as well. This may not be worth it. But this is all really good stuff down here. So the skill speed and the movement speed, very good. And then we have the spear cluster. I am getting some pretty decent crit now that I finally got my critical strike ascendancy. So the crit damage bonus with spears is nice. And then obviously just all these other nodes are just really, really good damage for spears. And then speaking of ascendancies, the way I pathed was through Predatory Instinct first. I've heard from some people that it's maybe better to go crit first, but oh well, I didn't know. So I passed through Predatory Instinct and then in for the kill, and then earlier today I was able to complete my Merc Ascendancy, and I was able to pick up Critical Strike. So that is the skills, passives, and gear. In terms of how the game is playing and how the game feels, I'm having a good time. I'm having a good time. It's a little frustrating at times. I do feel a little bit squishy sometimes, but I am sitting at 81 evasion, capped res. I've got a little bit of chaos res, some mediocre block, and about 2k life. So, you know, I'm feeling pretty good. Like I said, I'm comfortably able to do yellow maps right now. Like I think I am doing like 6s, 7s, and 8s pretty comfortably. The goal for tonight is going to be to see if I can sort of crack my way into red maps and get maybe some tier 11, tier 12s going. We'll see. You know, it's kind of hard to level up because I am dying occasionally. But really, I'm dying to some things that I would kind of consider bullshit. Like these packs of white mobs that are just like running at me off the screen and like slamming me for half of my life before I can even really react. It's kind of ridiculous. I'm, no joke, honestly, like more afraid of packs of white monsters than I am rares or even map bosses, which is kind of ridiculous. I think if there's one thing that I still have an issue with in this game right now, it is just how strong some of these white monsters are. Like, I'm not kidding. I was in a tier 6 map with 0 mods on it. It was just a white waystone, and I got one shot by a pack of, they were like, I forget the name of the monsters, but they ran at me off screen at like Mach 7, and they slammed, and I just died before I even really realized that they were there. And I was just like, are you serious? White mobs, white map, tier 6, and I'm getting one shot from like 2000 HP. I really don't get it. Meanwhile, I can sit there and just like face tank rares and face tank map bosses, no problem. So I'm not really sure if that's exactly how GGG wants the game to be feeling. I think they need to tone down the speed or maybe some of the damage on some of these white mobs. That's the other thing. Some of the mobs seem like just complete pushovers, and then other ones seem like total terrors. So I'm not really sure if it's just like my build is good against some and bad against others. You know, I'm still working that out. But yeah, that's my biggest issue and gripe with the game right now, is just how bad it feels to get clapped by some white monsters. That's really it. If that was happening to me a lot less, then I feel like I'd be leveling up a lot smoother and really wouldn't have any big issues with the game at all. But anyways, so that's where I'm sitting. In terms of future thoughts, I may get rid of any of this block stuff, and I might just go with Dance with Death. If I can fix my res, if I can get you know, because this buckler is kind of useless. If I can get these resistances on some other pieces of gear, like maybe some new rings in the future, I may go ahead and just invest with Dance with Death. This 25% more skill speed is going to feel very good. You know, I'm getting pretty chunky skill speed from In for the Kill. I'm getting some skill speed from Acceleration. I think there was somebody somewhere else that I was maybe getting some skill speed. Maybe not. Oh yeah, skill speed from the pathing up to In for the Kill. If I could get 25% more skill speed, that would make my combo so much faster. This is like the total time it takes for me to do the combo, right? So I've got to Frostbolt, / Barrage, Twister. That takes a long time. And if you have 25% more skill speed, I think it would be worth dropping this piece of shit buckler for that. So that may be sort of what I'm aiming towards here in the near future. But yeah, I think I've pretty much covered everything. I've stockpiled up a decent amount of gold. I'm saving this in case I decide I want to do some sort of massive respec. But right now, I'm feeling pretty good about the Twisters. And yeah, I hope that you guys are having a good time. I know that the you know, sort of community reception to 0.2 has been fairly negative, and I was kind of feeling that way myself a few different times during the campaign, especially at early mapping. I was really just struggling against white monsters, but I invested some currency and some upgrades, and things felt a little bit better. So I don't know, I'm not having a terrible time. I haven't really made much progress on my Atlas whatsoever. Honestly, I probably could at this point take some time to go and deal with this first Nexus here. I don't necessarily have to run it at a high map level, so I could probably just waltz in there in a white map and or a white tier map and deal with it and get some passive points rolling. I've got this Viridian Wildwood that I can go ahead and tackle at some point pretty soon for some extra passive points as well. And yeah, that's just kind of how things are going for me. Please let me know if you are enjoying the game, or if you are struggling, or you know what kind of build you're playing in the comments. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I appreciate you guys watching. Okay, have a good time out there, Exiles, and I will see you next time.